Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're talking about another game that changed my life. I'm a board game reviewer full-time, and I want to talk about how and what games got me to where I'm at today. Today we're talking about a more esoteric game, one that many of you may not have heard of, and that's a game called Solarquest. Now, Solarquest is a game that I got, and there's two reasons that this changed my life forever. So let's talk about the first one. Is the fact that this game came to me not brand new, but from the thrift store. Now, near my house, when I grew up, there was a store that was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 blocks from my house called American Family Thrift Store, and they were a good thrift store as opposed to many of the garbage ones that I've gone to in my life, but they consistently had board games for sale, and they sold them for really inexpensive prices. Now, I don't know really what kind of changed my mind, but I remember we were there. My mom bought Solarquest, and I have to tell you, for the rest of my teenage years, I went to this store almost on an every other day basis, looking to see what new games they had. They were consistently getting in games, and I saw so many interesting games, and there was World Beater, a game that I thought was pretty cool. I got a lot of Avalon Hill war games from there. I found all sorts of interesting games there that were being sold for $1 or $2. This was very affordable to me. It was similar to the price of a couple packs of baseball cards, which was my main collecting thing at the time. So Solarquest kind of opened up this idea of, hey, you can get games. You don't have to go to the store and buy these expensive new games. You can go find older games. And this is good for two reasons. One, I was able to afford them. But on the other hand, I was able to find better selections of games. Even back then in the 80s and 90s, the games that you could find at the thrift store were usually better than the ones that you could find at the mass market. Yes, there were games like Scotland Yard and Stratego, but for the most part, they weren't very good games. But at the thrift store, I was able to find things from Avalon Hill and games of yore that I never would have found otherwise, and got me into this deep, more interesting gaming setup. So that's one of the reasons I'm thankful for Solarquest. The other reason is the game itself. So if you've never played Solarquest, it is definitely a riff off of Monopoly. In this game, you have a spaceship and you're flying around, and you get locked into orbits around planets, and you land on the different moons of planets, and you can buy these moons and charge rent. But unlike Monopoly, where 3 properties can raise the price, if I own 8 of the moons around Jupiter and you land on Ganymede, you are going to be paying a lot of money. So you can own a few planets like Pluto, which is a planet, and Mars, but for the most part you were buying different moons. And then there were other rules about fuel and landing and different stations in different areas, and it was like Monopoly, but it kind of blew my mind because I had no Monopoly. I'd played Monopoly, and this felt like Monopoly but cooler. And so it introduced the idea to me that you could take an existing base game concept and expand on it. And Solarquest itself had advanced rules, which included fuel and stuff, but it also was a game where I started messing around and saying, well, what can I change here? What can I do differently? How can I mess with the rules? Up to that point, to me, rules were holy. You don't touch the rules. In fact, I had a negative thing in my neighborhood. My dad would always laugh at me about this because I would come in the house furious that we had played some sort of sports game or some other game, and kids were not following the rules. I was really adamant, follow the rules. And my dad would say, sometimes, you can modify the rules of the game. No, but Solarquest, I started doing it. I started modifying the things. I said, all right, we'll make a rule here. I gave special abilities to different players. And I played this mostly with my brothers and sisters. My parents did not like the game. And so this game certainly got me interested in space. I thought the idea of space was really cool, but it gave me the idea that you could add or subtract rules, and I messed with that a little bit. So helping me find thrift stores, thank you Solarquest, and learning to modify and mess with the rules of a game. I don't know that I'd play Solarquest today. It's not the greatest of games, but it does have a lot of cool memories for me, and it's certainly a game that changed my life.